The British music industry is a major success story. More important than the country's steel and petrochemical businesses, it employs over 130,000 full-time staff, has an annual turnover in excess of £4 billion, and has maintained its influential status on the world stage for over 40 years.
I think music is one of those areas of British industry which we do incredibly well.
You have all these musical cultures which is in this great melting pot, and it's forever evolving into something else.
What we've achieved as an industry is phenomenal. We've protected British talent. We're still world leaders.
Where we differ from America is that you can be as weird or strange as you want, and that you're going to get someone who will listen to it, even if it's only 500 people, but you're going to get them listening to you. Rather than thinking, well, if I want to crack America, I've got to make bland, turgid rock music.
It's one of those industries where we are right there at the top as far as the world is concerned. British music is looked upon with massive respect.
UK record companies are split into two distinctive and separate camps, the smaller independent record labels and the majors. EMI Music is over 100 years old and is Britain's biggest and most successful record company.
The fact that the company EMI, with its checkered history, has been responsible over the years for, if you like, the first British rock and roll record, which was Cliff Richard in the 50s, for signing the Beatles in the 60s, in the 70s, signing the Sex Pistols, even though there were unfortunately reasons why they then ran away from it, in the 80s being at the forefront of the whole Duran Duran New Romantic phase, and I haven't even mentioned the 60s and 70s Pink Floyd sort of stuff. I think that the company has been really at the forefront in every decade, and then through the 90s there was this Brit pop explosion, which we were right at the forefront with Blur, with bands like Radiohead and Supergrass. We very much leave the artists to evolve in the way that they're going to evolve. The Robbie Williams example was an instance whereby, without substantial resources, it would be very hard to imagine it happening in the way that it has done. Supporting what he was doing to the level that had to be done, and essentially a year and a half of building Robbie into what he eventually became.
We got stars directing our fate, and we pray, and it's not too late, 'cause we know we're falling from grace, millennium.
We were able to buy him time, and then he became not just Robbie Williams, the cheeky chappie, he became Robbie Williams, the immensely successful songwriter, and now the immensely successful seller of records around the world.
Oh, she offers me protection, a lot of love and affection.
That may never have happened had he been signed to a company that either hadn't got that mad belief and wasn't willing to back up that mad belief with the money.
I'm loving angels instead.
We try and actually be the best in whatever we do. Yeah, our ambition is to be the best music company in the world, and I think that's a great thing to aspire to.
Hello, I'm Jay, and that's my noisy dog in the background, Luca. Oh, go on, out. Bugger off. Out. Open the door. Out. Hi, I'm Jay from Jamiroquai. Yeah. You may know us, you may not know us, but here we are. I find these days, the British music industry has become disappointing. If you look at the difference between, you know, the quality of music and artist and live show that you saw at the end of the 60s and through the 70s, and then you look at it now, you know, backing tapes and miming.
Up until about the middle 1990s, I'd say, we were still probably the best in the world at creating new forms of music. Right now, we're probably not as great as we have been. And it would be very hard to say whether that's just part of a cyclical thing that happens where you get a kind of a scene come up through and then sort of dissolve and wait for the next one to come, or whether it really is a change in the whole climate of the way music is perceived.
I just think we've created a musical climate where that superstardom of Stings and Elton Johns, it's built in 5 minutes now. And, you know, what is this boy band thing, you know? I mean, well, how can you possibly just keep putting one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other? How long can it go? I mean, you know, how long can it go on? It's strange, you know, you see 10 different artists all doing the same, you can call them artists, but all doing the same thing. But somebody signed them, you know, somebody signed them, somebody's taken that on board, somebody says, yeah, we'll make that. And they're prepared to sit there and say they're this band, or not them so much, but the record company prepared to say they're this band or this band, and they all sound exactly the same.
It's great for record companies because they control the whole damn thing. Their investment in it is very, very low. They own it all. They probably own the songs, they own the artists, such as they are, who have no longevity and can be ditched tomorrow and replaced. And they can clone them, as Westlife were cloned off Boyzone. They just clone them and clone them and clone them.
Although dismissed by his critics as a producer of formula pop music, Pete Waterman is arguably one of the most passionate and successful independent record producers ever to come out of the UK.
The objective is to have hits. The more gold records on the wall, the more times that tells me personally that I entertain the public. And that's all I want to do. And if people don't like what I do, that's fine by me. I'm not making excuses for it, I'm making hits. To do my job, you've got more passion than Oasis have got, because Oasis can trade on their name. I can't trade on my name. I've got to write another great song that kids go out and buy 1 million of. Now, if you're a group, and I happen to like Oasis, so I'm not picking on, I'm just saying, but if you've got an ethos where journalists all go, this is great, they've done half the job for you. You know, they've done half the job for you. You can go, yeah, man, cool. Smoke the joint and pretend you're cool, and everybody goes, he's really cool. He's got shiny pants on. But, you know, I'm uncool, so they go, it's another piece of dross before you've even started. So to get over that, you have to be totally committed and passionate about it. Because if you're not, then what you end up with is insipid pop records. And, you know, my critics may think I make insipid pop records, but having sold 500 million of them, I can assure them they ain't insipid pop records, because if they were, I wouldn't be as rich as I am today. I think what pop music is about, it's about wonderful records like What's Going On and deep and meaningful with social comment. And it's also about Baby Love, which is frippery and total candy floss for people that want total candy floss. We don't all want, when we're certain ages, to know about the problems of the world. We all know the problems of the world. Sometimes we need a little light relief.
Independent record labels are often set up by a small group of like-minded people with the intention of creating a particular type of music. Subversive and maverick, its frontrunners have often been responsible for the cutting-edge sounds that Britain has become world famous for.
Those independent labels are kind of morally superior, despite the fact there's an equal... in fact, in a way, probably more dishonest and disreputable people have been involved with independent labels than have been involved with major labels, but I still feel that kind of spiritually it provides me with more interest and excitement, and I just feel that, you know, it's in some way morally superior.
Hi, I'm Shabs from Outkast. Outkast record started 5 years ago. The aim was to really kind of have a new sound of Asian music, something that we felt, well, this is ours. Culturally, it kind of belongs to us. The aim of what we're trying to do with Outkast and the name and the whole principle, philosophy, is to promote new British Asian culture.
United, black and white here to show you how we've been delighted. The new generation, it's the mid-90s, showing you how it's done if you think you are a smarty, telling you the truth.
Asian Dub Foundation started out in '93 at a place called Community Music, where I was a tutor. This particular workshop was with young Asian youth and with Asian youth, and that's how I met Dida Zaman, who's now our rapper.
I think it's great to have bands like ADF and Fundamental in the spectrum, as it were, because they attack it from a different aspect. They, you know, they are aggressive, they are political, they are looking at things in society, which is great. I don't think that's what Outkast is about. We are ultimately trying, however, to look at our role in society. You know, it isn't some sort of bland, pathetic kind of we're all right, meek protest, you know. And no one, I certainly do not believe in passive resistance. You know, it's not, let's just all sit around and it'll be all right because Father will make it all right. But there's a way of going about it. There's a way of attacking it. Bands like Fundamental and ADF attack it in a different way. They're head on, we'll maybe take a different route, but it's still the same kind of potent look. We're here, listen to us, we want to be heard.
This one's for a friend of ours who's in prison, has been there for 12 years. All he was doing was defending himself in a racial attack. This song is called Free Sapao Rap.
There is an activist tradition in the band, you know, we've all been involved in various things, various campaigns. And also there's an anger and frustration at being ignored for so long, not getting the same kind of breaks, you know, selling out gigs in London and still being, at one stage we were probably the country's biggest unsigned group. Also the general conservatism that infects British society and the British music scene generally, the way things are marketed and segregated, reflects the way that people are marketed and segregated.
For independents who have smaller marketing budgets and often produce less commercial music than the majors, bringing an artist to the public's attention can be an uphill struggle.
The majority of the music industry might be celebrating that last year and the year before was the best year in music, but As an independent label, I would totally disagree and feel that 95 or even higher percentage of music that's played on radio is geared towards pop. So of course the majors are going to be happy, but people like us, independents, get less and less coverage every single year.
I'm fed up hearing it, it's tough for the independents. Yes, it's tough for the independents, but why is it tough for the independents? You know, if you're not selling records, there's only one person's fault, and that's yours. Can't blame the major companies because nobody will stock your records, and you've got the flaming snotgrasses on your label. I mean, that's just the way the market goes.
Most major record companies spend about £1 million on a pop band before they've even released their first single. That's not unreasonable to think that. The amount that they get signed for, the amount that they spend on videos and launches and whatever else they do to make that act successful. If record companies are spending £1 million on actually trying to break a band, that it's guaranteed almost that it's going to happen because they have friends in high places within radio and TV that can almost guarantee that their latest young things will get some sort of exposure, where we just don't have that luxury, really.
Money don't say you love me. Cash won't make me stay. Came here with my own things, and I believe the same way. If you really cared, babe, you would spend your time. You don't understand. You can't afford mine, so ain't a prima donna.
I first came across Jamelia when she was about 15 and a half.
I was like messing about on my karaoke machine, and like I recorded a tape as I did like every weekend. I swear I always did. And my cousin took one and brought it to the record company, Parlophone.
If you go sending in a tape, you know, you touch and go. You know what these people are. I mean, I've seen them. I've sat in the office with them and watched them go.
To my surprise, they like called me the next day and said, you know, can we have a meeting with you? And I was like, what?
I said to her, so you want to be a singer? And she said, yeah. I said, well, would you do an a cappella for me? Just sing without a mic. And Jamelia, being Jamelia, just said, well, fine. And just sang a track. I think it was an SWV track. And I just, I knew from there that she was going to be something special.
As she never had a band, she needed to obviously learn about programming and to learn studio techniques and everything. So the development period was very much about that.
I guess in my development deal, I did it for 18 months and I wrote loads of songs with different people. And, you know, some of them didn't work, some of them did work, but that was the purpose of the development deal, to find out which people I did like and, you know, which people I got on with, which people I worked well with. And, you know, I think it's a really good thing because, you know, obviously, now that I've signed my proper deal, it's like we know which people to work with, we know where to go. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's why I've got a quality album. I think.
After you've created singles, albums, songs, then it moves along the conveyor belt. Then marketing gets involved as to, you know, how are we going to sell this product?
Press, promo,
styling,
retail,
packaging,
management,
photography,
the vision, the website.
Where are we going to shoot the video? How's it going to look? What's the imagery like? What's the story?
Really, when you're setting up either a band or a solo artist, you really try and get an identity that is synonymous with that artist. So you really look to use a logo or a typeface or something that will identify them. I
wanted to have something that people would remember. I wanted to have a logo. I wanted people to recognise instantly the name and what it was about, you know, and know it was something to do with me. And I concentrated hard on that, and I think that, in a sense, I mean, how many people do you know that go to a record company and go, and here's the, you know, this is my buffalo man I've drawn, and this is the way I want my writing to go, and this is what I'm going to wear. I mean, not really.
We were lucky insofar as Jamelia had put together a scrapbook of imagery that she was into, you know, artists she admired, like Mary J. Blige and Lauryn Hill, makeup she liked, hairstyle she liked, right down to real basic things.
The scrapbook was basically what I'd like me to be about what Jamelia is, what kind of, you know, where I'm heading, you know what I mean? I just thought I had to include everything so that everyone is, you know, really clear on what, you know, what I'd like to do.
With Jamelia, we've got a sort of a script logo that looks like it's handwritten, and that appears on absolutely everything, and that brands her product.
We have an artist here. It's not something that's been manufactured. Jamelia has been 2.5, 3 years in the making. It's not something that was just put together. Hopefully Jamelia's career will be long and fruitful. And in the world in which we live in, a lot of careers are not like that.
The do-it-yourself or DIY music scene is so far removed from the British music industry that it is almost a separate entity. For the musicians involved in DIY, making music is what matters, and making it on your own terms is what matters the most.
For a large record company to come and want to sign us, first of all, I don't think it would happen, because I don't know how they could market our music to make enough money.
But you know, great. It'd be awesome to make money to play music, but to do that through a company, through any kind of major, you're no longer doing it for yourself anymore. You're doing it for this machine that's paying you to do it. And
I think it's much better to do something for the love of doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's our drive. Fatboy started about maybe 3 years ago. We were just out at a gig seeing some other bands, and we got talking and decided let's start a band, and we were the three that were there, so we were the three that had started the band. The scene that we play in is like this little DIY punk or hardcore scene or whatever, and basically it's just a big massive worldwide network of friends. It's not about contracts and things like that. It's about doing it with your friends, and it's trust and faith in your friends that are helping you out. That's more important than a contract that says you owe us 3 more albums before you can do any other music. You know, like getting tied up to some mess like that would just be horrific.
At the end of the day, if you want to do music, so if somebody offers it says to you, "We want you for 8 albums," you sit there and go, 8 albums? I can do 8 albums. I mean, that's what you do. So, you know, if you asked a bricklayer to lay a brick wall, he lays a brick wall. You said, well, I want a brick wall 100 miles long. You do one 100 miles long. It's the same thing. Surely the point of going to a major record company is to, you know, to have access to the money there for string sections and horn sections, and not 1 day in the studio, but 5 days in the studio working something out. And also the huge, great, you know, marketing vehicle that goes with it.
People are doing it because they want to and because they're good people, not because they think they can make their fortune from it or be famous or anything like that.
bands playing music, I guess, is one big category, but DIY and the industry are totally different within the bands playing music category. It's
I think of industry managers, promoters, having everything done for them. Product
as opposed to music. It's not what this is.
I think the ultimate difference is that what the DIY community is built up on is completely the opposite end of the spectrum to what like the major record companies are all about. Major record companies, they might as well be selling any product. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's music or whatever else it happens to be. Ultimately, they want to make money, but music's just their vehicle for getting there. But with the DIY community, it's like money's not the ultimate goal.
The music industry makes music as a product. It's obvious, it's the music industry. It makes music as a product to sell to people, to like it could be, people always say this, it could be baked beans. It's true. It could be baked beans, it could be clothes. It's just a product to make money.
You've got to cross that bridge or make that link between art and commerce, because that's what our business is all about. It is turning artistic endeavours of varying degrees of merit into commerce, into business. I think The Clash said, turning rebellion into money. And I think that's what, you know, my main sort of role is.
Success in all its many forms comes to some through planning and hard work, to others by accident or by the fact that the record-buying public picks up on their spirit and identifies with it.
There is something, there's a kind of spirit, there's an energy there, so perhaps it is a kind of bolshiness. I don't know. You'd have to talk to a sociologist, and I'm certainly not one of those.
My name's Damien Harris, and I run Skint Records in Brighton.
I have to celebrate you, baby.
I joined Loaded Records, which was a independent house label. Around the summer of '94, I just said, well, can I start a label doing anything that isn't house? They said, all right. Well, they were going to sack me for being rubbish, actually. But then, luckily, they gave me my own label instead.
Well, Skint are an example of what Britain does very, very well. They're a record company that actually evolved out of a bunch of people who were fans and mates. And I believe that Damien, who runs Skint, was working in a record shop in Brighton and bumped into Norman Cook, who was an ex-pop star, and various other bands who was trying to create music in a different way, dance music, who became world famous now as Fatboy Slim.
Our first release was Fatboy Slim, Santa Cruz, and I just remember we sold 800, you know, after sort of 2 months, and I was really depressed. So it's just been a very, you know, a gradual sort of progression, and yeah, there's certain sort of key moments in our history in terms of sales, and you know, from 800 to now, I think Norman's album sold, I think it's coming up to 5 million, you know, around the world. When you've got money, or you think there's money there, it's so easy to get sucked into trying for a hit, or right, we've got to make a video, or and all of a sudden you're spending a ludicrous sum of money on putting out a record that before you just put out, and let it sort of do its job. So I mean that did throw us for a while.
As a cottage industry, it just grew and grew and grew, and they maintained control, and they maintained a personality of the music because it was being done with a great deal of love and affection by personalities, and so they end up with a brand which grew out of the fact that it simply was really bloody good.
In terms of sort of branding our artists, we tend to let it happen by accident, really, and it kind of has. Because I mean, obviously, Fatboy Slim has become this brand, but I mean, we're not good at that. We're not good at thinking, right, if we do, having marketing strategies and things like that. We just put the records out and put out records that we love.
Britpop was a lively musical style which emerged in the mid-90s as a reaction against the American grunge movement. Frivolous and very English in outlook, it was quickly picked up by marketing, press and fans alike, and although controversial and short-lived, it became a national obsession.
The Britpop thing was very nationalistic at heart. Even if some of the people didn't intend it that way, people interpreted it that way. Weirdly abroad, I remember when we went to do a show in Amsterdam.
And they had Union Jacks up
Union
everywhere.
Jacks, it was like going to a National Front rally or something. We asked them to take it down, It's like this kind of...
Take those down, we are not the Smiths.
Yeah.
We were at the height of Britpop, and everything we did was the antithesis of that. The colour of our skins, the fact that we were talking about things, and Britpop talks about nothing, or introversion and stuff, and we're talking about our experience in society, whatever. Musically, we're looking forward. We make use of current technology as well as guitars and basses. All right. Whereas Britpop and stuff was looking back the other way to a mythical 60s.
Very conservative and nostalgic music form, which is, anathema to aliens.
Britpop was, at the time, one of the most fantastically exciting things that I've ever been involved in, because it was, you came from a landscape that was being dictated by American music that was fairly depressing. And it was just great for somebody to kind of identify that there was a certain great thing about being homegrown, I guess. And, Blur's Park Life was it just felt great. It was about us. It made sense. We recognised it.
I think Britpop was what it was it meant so much to a lot of people. To me and to a lot of people who didn't give a toss.
Wednesdays when I get rudely awakened by the dustman.
For people working on the music press, it was a great relief, because we were just fed up with people with long hair staring at their shoes, playing guitars out of tune, not wanting to be successful at all. And we wanted some pop stars to write about and to enjoy and to go out drinking with, and we got them.
Feed the pigeons, I sometimes feed the sparrows too. It gives me a sense of enormous well-being.
Well, I never really got into Britpop, either the music or the marketing concept, because first of all, musically, it was all stuff that I'd heard before, really, by and large done rather better previously too, which is not something that I normally say. I'm not a nostalgist, if there is such a word exists. But what was described as Britpop was so manifestly Eng pop, but that's not as attractive a word or as easily marketable.
We had, 7, 8 labels come to see us, and everyone was scared. Yeah. All right, because as Bobby Gillespie put it quite rightly, I think, we weren't 4 white boys with guitars. Yeah. All right, no one was prepared to, try and do something different.
It was limited. It was too retrospectively based. It was short-lived, but it was fun. But things have moved on now, and I think Britpop in its own way has run its course, and Asian Dub Foundation is still there, and we very recently NME put Asian Dub Foundation on the cover of NME because we felt that they were due their cover.
The indie press has latched onto us, I think, because there's something in us that they can understand, i.e., quite simply, there's live bass and live guitar and it looks like a band. Simple as that, And so, but what we bring to the live band format is something that most of the groups that they write about don't.
The Cabin Boy have been invited to play a gig by the Dublin DIY scene, the Hope Collective. By arranging sound equipment and even a free meal, costs are kept to a minimum, and all they have to do is get themselves there.
We've been waiting to play Dublin for quite a while. All summer we've been planning to play Dublin. It was going to be, this is going to be our first gig back in Dublin. And we have a good kind of sister gig collective down there. There's a good network of kids. There's a lot of support, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This is just the first time we've got it together to actually get down there and play again.
We let them know what gear we can bring and what gear we need brought along, and they'll get in touch with their friends and ask what they can borrow and stuff, bring it along. We get there and hopefully everybody rocks.
Jamilia's record label have organised a showcase at the Mayfair Club in London. Having gone to all the expense of arranging the night, it's still anyone's guess as to whether the fickle music press will like what they hear and see.
The showcase is for press, all the journalists, TV and radio, for people that may have heard the record but don't know how she may look.
So you think I got a price tag on me just to flash the cash? You're all I see.
The showcase tonight has taken probably about a month and a half to set up, right from the word go. I mean, that's from sourcing a venue, making sure there were the dancers available, the choreographer, the flowers, the catering, the invites. It really is quite incredible when you sort of list exactly what has to be done.
And now you're flexing with some friends. That's why me sing that money can't buy my love. That's why me security, love on me own surety.
Showing a lot of people what I'm about, because a lot of people, they can read about me, they can they can see my videos, but they can't really. If you see somebody live, it's a different thing. You know what I mean? You might see someone on the TV, you might listen to their CD, you might hear them on the radio, but you can't really see what that person's about. I just want to prove to them, I can do it. You know what I mean? I can do it. I think it's like getting people to believe in you.
Thank you.
The audience is as important as the band. I don't get that impression in other parts of the music industry.
Well, I mean, ultimately a record company would view the audience as like people to sell records to.
Yeah, a market.
They'd sign a band and they want to sell that band.
Tonight's gig went pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with it. We haven't played here for a while, so it was good.
Tonight was a fun show. Without a doubt, it was worth the effort.
I thought it was okay. I couldn't really hear much. I couldn't hear Gary's guitar that much, but I thought it was okay. Didn't break any sticks.
Well done, darling.
I'm surprised.
I think it went really well. I think what it really got across was that she's not just someone that can make a great record or make a great video, but actually she can just get that across live as well. As a live performer, she just finds it very, very easy to communicate to an audience, and I think that the reaction, as you heard, was tremendous from the media, and it's the most difficult audience in the world to play to, a media audience.
My name's Ajax Scott. I'm editor of Music Week, and I just thought we saw something really quite exciting. We really need to have some new talent breaking through, and here we see an artist who's been right at the beginning of her career, got a good voice, a lot of presence, really good dance moves, and some good material, really taking UK R&B and taking it in a new direction and coming up with something that is fresh for the year 2000.
She's going to be a great performer. It's early days yet, but she is my little baby, and I love her. She's amazing, and that's all I can say.
I don't really think it's the size of the label. I mean, I'm very grateful for what EMI has done for me, but I think it all boils down to how much faith the label has got in you. Everyone's really nice. Everyone, I feel like I'm being taken care of. I feel safe and stuff like that. And I don't feel like anything bad's gonna happen to me at all. I'm very happy.
For the successful independent, the financial rewards can be huge, but global sales and distribution of albums is sometimes more than their small infrastructure can manage. It is at this point that the majors often try and strike a deal.
After a while, about, I think 2 years after we had started, we suddenly found ourselves in this position. We had 4 bands that were hot and sought after, and there was this sort of A&R scrum. And that was the first time that we had to sort of get involved with majors, and they came and started talking to us. And they're a funny old thing.
The way that it tends to evolve is that you'll have major companies, and a bunch of independent record companies will start to come through in different eras and representing different musical styles. And they'll do very, very well. And then there will come a point where they'll become part of the major music companies for whatever reason. And then a whole new bunch of independents will come through, because they always do. And that's what makes it a thriving record business. I think a thriving independent scene makes a thriving music scene within the country, which makes a thriving music business, which is what we're all interested in.
We wanted to keep keep everyone. We wanted to have our own, the muscle that you need, but sort of still remain, and try and keep our integrity and try and keep what we did and everything. Yeah, so I mean, what we did in the end, we did a deal with Sony.
I think the disadvantage of any business, actually, full stop, is the unpredictability of it. You can be, you're in business, so you can be bought out, you can be merged, you can have financial problems that you might not be aware of. And that happens all the time. But recently we saw Seagram's buy at Polygram, you've seen the AOL, Warner's merger. You're in business, and those things remind you that you are in business, because I do sit around sometimes just thinking I'm in music, and nothing will get in the way of these grand plans that you have. But that's life, It's like a meteorite could fall from the sky, and I think you just have to accept that.
Well, the concentration of the music industry into ever and ever larger units of 2, 3, 4 major corporations is quite clearly unhealthy. It was unhealthy before. The more it happens, the more unhealthy it becomes. I mean, it just makes a nonsense of things. All of a sudden, a group of people are promoting a record, and then they find out they're going to lose their jobs in about a week's time. It's pathetic. It's purely about stocks and shares. It's all about making money out of money. It's like it's in the system that we live under. It's possible to make money out of destroying things.
I think the other thing is, for the industry, I feel that they're getting worried because of the internet.
The next few years are a real challenge, because the very definition of what a music company or a record company is or isn't is being challenged. And the most simplistic and bland expression of that is when you read in various papers and magazines that the music industry is dead because we're all going to get our music through computers, which is like saying the music industry is dead because we're all going to get our music on silver CDs. All it is a method of delivery, and the exciting thing is that it's a much more efficient method of delivery, faster method of delivery, potentially more all-embracing way of delivering music than there has ever been before.
You work in the village, I'm putting a poster up, dreaming of anything, dreaming of the time when you are free from all the trouble you're in.
The internet has been a big part of our company, really, and even though we are a small company, it is quite strange that on the technology front we feel that we're way ahead, really, of most other companies. We receive 370,000 page visits a week to our internet site. It has become a very, very useful medium. With events like the Brit Awards, what happened here was that it felt like the underground had finally taken over the mainstream. It was the first time I've ever seen it happen, and I didn't realise what a powerful force the internet could be and prove to be.
The Brits is set up by the British music industry as their showcase, their window to the world it's their Grammys, it's the big thing that you market your artists and your know-how and your knowledge to the rest of the world.
It's predominantly a pop event, but Belle and Sebastian were nominated for Best Newcomer Award at the Brit Awards. To everybody's surprise, Belle and Sebastian won the award.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is Belle and Sebastian.
The official British music industry had absolutely no idea how the internet worked. And a bunch of people who did understand it, young people who understood how communities work, just went in there and pulled a fast one. And they got their people to vote, and they won fair and square, and it embarrassed the British music industry in public. I love that story, that they'd actually told Steps they would win so that Steps would turn up, only to find at the very last minute that something very odd was going on. They had no ken about it, they had no understanding of it.
Now, I have to say, I'll declare an interest here straight away. I didn't care a shit, because I knew we wouldn't win it. Right, now they've been told on the Thursday night they won it. So they go off to get this award, and I've said, you ain't going to win this. I'm telling you, by the time we come to the television show, you won't win the award. Right? Sure enough, they didn't win the award. I knew they wouldn't win the award.
What we did was, prior to the Brit Awards, we looked into everybody else's website for all the other bands that had been nominated. A lot of the companies hadn't actually bothered to even mention the fact that they were nominated for a Brit Award or hadn't updated their site. Whereas we did almost have flashing neon on our homepage saying, whatever you do, vote for Belle and Sebastian, upset all the major record companies, this is your chance to take over. But of course, you can't actually make people do something that they don't want to do, so they obviously did, and the rest is history.
That was the first time that the British public understood that the British record industry had no idea what was going on when this band they'd never heard of, Belle and Sebastian, stood up and picked up that award. It's fantastic.
The music industry is at the forefront of what's going on the internet. Majors are powerful, they own the copyrights, and they're waking up to the fact that this is either going to make or break them. For an indie, it's on the other side even more crucial to be harnessing that technology, because if you're standing there with consumers dealing direct and they want you to be digitally ready, you've got to be ready. It's about that one consumer, it's about the one guy who wants to buy 5 CDs in New Zealand, who wants to download your music from wherever. If you don't have him, you make no money. Even a major is thinking about him, but how important it is to an indie is paramount.
The web and what can be done on there. It does give people the opportunity just to make their own music and put it out there for anyone to find if they want to, and it doesn't really cost very much. So it's kind of back to people just standing around making music for the sake of it, just because they want to, and it becomes a hobby, not a business. And I think at the moment we're in a really good place for that.
The internet does provide an uncharted sort of arena.
It gives access to the last remaining area that musicians don't have access to, which is distribution.
It's an exciting time, but for the internet. But generally, as the industry gets more concentrated, the thing is you just got to survive.
The first record I ever bought was the theme music to Joe 90, which was a kind of secret agent puppet show.
The first record I bought was called Do the Bartman by Bart Simpson. I'm sorry.
First record I bought was the theme to the 1972 Commonwealth Games. The B-side was wicked, really dubby.
The first record I bought was The Who by Numbers.